this some kind of joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight.
You don't know what death is.
What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Up 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus, and in this video, I will be talking about 4 possible storyline directions Kevin Williamson could go in for Scream 7 now that we have both him and Neve Campbell returning for the project. If you haven't done so already, please shoot this video a like. It definitely helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton, as well as if you happen to be a new viewer to this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel, as well as if you would like to become a member to the channel, shoot over to the channel dashboard and shoot that join button that you see displayed. Okay everyone, so the Scream franchise, as we know, has caught fire once again with the announcement of franchise queen Neve Campbell reprising her role as Sidney Prescott, as well as the return of OG franchise writer Kevin Williamson, now set to take the helm in the director's chair. This news has been dominating the headlines as we all expected once it dropped, and though the fan base is somewhat divided to a degree over this announcement, the announcement for the most part has been mostly well received and has fans excited on what story could be told in Scream 7 and what it can mean for the franchise moving forward. The question of will Scream 7 serve as the final story for Sidney Prescott, or could we be getting more films for the iconic character beyond Scream 7 is on many fans' minds. With that being said, let's get into 4 possible storylines I believe Kevin Williamson could go in for the 7th film. Okay, so as an honorary mention, if you will, I will address this as I know some of you hit me up in the live chat when I broke the news of Kevin and Neve returning. Some of you hit me up and asked me, did I think that with this news, was there any possibility that we could still get Samantha Carpenter, Melissa Barrera, returning in Scream 7? And I said it then and I'm gonna say it now, I think it's a no. Apparently at a convention a couple weeks ago, a fan asked her about it, and she said that she would not return to Scream 7 unless Spyglass Media sold the rights. Well, with the announcement of Kevin Williamson directing and Neve Campbell returning as Sidney Prescott, which as we know, as it was reported by The Hollywood Reporter, that was on Spyglass's wish list, I think this is a bold statement by Spyglass to the fans and to Melissa saying, we're not selling anything. We're standing firm on our decision and we're gonna move forward. And I think that that's the main reason why you will not see Melissa Barrera in this movie. I do not think you will see the core 4 at all. I don't think you'll see Mason Gooding. I don't think you'll see Jasmine Savoy Brown. We know we're not going to see Jenna Ortega. I think this core 4 story is completely nipped in the bud. And I think this is also going to be further confirmed if this rumor that was posted by at Scream News over on Twitter via Critical Overlord, if this turns out to be true, if this rumor is accurate, you see it there. It says that the story is supposed to be still split in 2, half Sidney Prescott, half new characters. So if there are going to be new characters that are going to be featured alongside Sidney Prescott, in my opinion, there would be no reason to have the core 4 come back. They're focusing on new characters. Now, the only reason I can see Melissa being in this movie is if she's the opening scene kill. And I'm going to give a few reasons as to why I believe that is very possible. Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see, but it's possible. The reason why I believe Melissa as Samantha Carpenter could very much well be the opening scene kill is what is the Scream franchise known for in its opening scenes? Shock value. They want to create moments that fans are going to talk about for years to come, whether it's positive or negative. Point an example, Cotton Weary's opening scene kill in Scream 3. Many fans still to this day talk about that opening scene kill and talk about how they didn't really care for it. They wanted to see more of Cotton Weary in Scream 3. Unfortunately, we did not get that. But what did they do? They killed off a character that nobody thought would be killed off, especially that early. This could very well work out for the Samantha Carpenter character because it would be completely shocking. Nobody would see that coming. I'd have to say, outside of Gale Weathers being killed off in the opening scene, Samantha Carpenter being killed off in the opening scene would be just as shocking, if not a little bit more shocking. So again, going back to that shock value, creating moments, whether it's positive or negative, creating moments that the fans will talk about for years to come. But most importantly, why this is very possible is because killing Samantha Carpenter off in the opening scene, it would be Spyglass and the creative team letting the audience know we are no longer focusing on the Carpenter Loomis storyline. That storyline is over for good. So, again, do I think it's going to happen? No, I do not think we're going to see Melissa Barrera at all in this movie. But if she is going to be in this movie, that is the only way I see her being in the movie, is if she is the opening scene kill. But that's just my opinion. And I will call this out here real quickly because I know there have been, the fan base is divided. I know that. There are fans out there that are like, oh, we're boycotting Scream 7. We're not going to watch it unless Melissa is in it, so on and so forth. And Marcus is going to call your bluff right here, right now. I call bullshit. You want to know why I call bullshit, y'all? Because those very same people who are talking about they're not going to go see Scream 7, are going to boycott it because Melissa isn't in it, most of them, I'm not going to, put a label and say all of you, but most of you were the same ones saying the same thing about Neve Campbell not being in Scream 6. You said you were going to boycott. You said you were going to watch the film because Neve wasn't in it. And what did you do? What did you do? You pulled your fucking wallets right out of your pocket, you got your credit card out, or you paid cash, and you went and bought your ass a ticket. And you went to go see Scream 6. The numbers don't lie. The numbers prove this. So, all of you out there who are being somewhat negative Nancy's, I'm calling you out on it. I don't understand why you are being so negative about the announcement of Kevin and Neve returning when you know that once you see that trailer for Scream 7, if it looks remotely halfway decent or exceeds your expectations, even in the trailer, you're going to go pull your money out and you're going to go buy a ticket. Okay, so now that that's been addressed, I'm going to start at number 4 of possible directions Scream 7 could go in, with Kevin Williamson now at the helm in the director's chair. The 4th possible direction we could go in is a direct sequel to Scream 3 and starting a new timeline of sorts, ignoring films 4, 5, and 6. This could be the new Scream 4 in a way. Now, this direction solely hinges on whether or not Hayden Panettiere will return as Kirby Reed. She is the wild card in my opinion, because if she doesn't return, I feel that this rumor about Sydney and these new characters, basically we're getting a bunch of new characters, I feel that this would all but confirm we are also getting a new timeline, which would exclude the Kirby Reed character and the core 4 characters that were in Scream 4, Scream 5, and Scream 6. But obviously, if she does return, we would be sticking with the original timeline to a degree while writing out the core 4 and basically ignoring films 5 and 6. Now, this direction of picking up directly after 3 is possible because Spyglass wants Scream 7 released in 2025. February 4th, 2025 marks the 25-year anniversary of Scream 3. Scream 7 is being speculated to mirror Scream 3, so it would stick with the meta foundation that the franchise has always operated on. But more importantly, by setting 7's timeline 25 years after Scream 3, you create the opportunity for Sydney and Mark Kincaid's kids to be teenagers. Now keep in mind, we don't have confirmation that Patrick Dempsey is returning as Mark Kincaid. We all speculate that he is. We're waiting for that news to drop. But you create the opportunity for Sydney and Mark's kids to be teenagers in high school as opposed to them being written as children like we saw and heard in Scream 5 and Scream 6, which would create a segue for the Scream franchise to move forward, focusing on Sydney's offsprings after Scream 7 in future films, something that some fans have voiced wanting to see. The 3rd possible direction Scream 7 could go in, and I did a video discussing this a little over a month ago when Jamie Kennedy had his interview with DeMont Maroney and expressed wanting to come back into the Scream franchise, is a 30-year direct sequel to the original film, as Kevin was involved with Halloween H2O, which was a direct sequel to the original Halloween film, ignoring the installments that preceded it. As I mentioned in that video, for fans who would want to see both Jamie Kennedy as Randy Meeks and David Arquette as Deputy turned Sheriff Dewey Riley back in the Scream franchise, this direction would retcon their deaths in Scream 2 and Scream 5 respectively, as this would be an all-out legacy sequel. They could even bring back Liev Schreiber as Cotton Weary if they wanted to. The point is, Kevin being a part of Halloween H2O, add in the facts that Halloween H2O was the 7th film in the Halloween franchise, and the original Scream was a love letter to Halloween, and makes this direction for Scream 7 an option that shouldn't go unnoticed. Now, this is where things can get real spicy in my opinion, and to be honest with you, you can actually merge 2 and 1's directions together. I will explain why here in a little bit. But coming in at number 2 would be to finish Jill Roberts' storyline. As you all recall in Scream 4, Jill was Sidney's cousin who turned out to be Ghostface alongside Charlie Walker. Now, we do see Jill get killed in the end of that film at the hospital, but this wasn't always the plan, as Williamson will go on to explain in 2022 in an edition of Horror Queers on Bloody FM, that his original plan for Scream 5, had Scream 4 been successful in the way that they hoped, was that in Scream 5, Jill got away with the murders in Scream 4 and went to college where a new killer would arrive in an attempt to expose her as a killer, and that Sidney was supposed to be a professor at this college. For those wondering how this would have worked, Sidney was to apparently have amnesia and not remember the events that took place at Kirby's house after being stabbed a second time by Jill and passing out. He also mentioned how the original plan for Scream 6 was to be a Gale-centric film. Sidney was supposed to be in it, but not the main focus. Williamson could choose to finish what was originally planned by him and Wes Craven by bringing Jill back and encapsulating her storyline, while also revealing that there was a third killer in the 4th film. I've done videos and streams showcasing and discussing how you could assume that there are 3 killers in Scream 4, and given the fact that the killer knew who Jill was as a killer from the previous film in his original plan for Scream 5, seems to hint that Williamson was leaning in that direction in his original plan for Scream 5, and that he could choose to incorporate this in Scream 7 if he were going to bring Jill back. This leads me to number 1, and I think many of you already saw this coming, but the number 1 storyline Kevin Williamson could do for Scream 7, and many feel should do for Scream 7, is bring Matthew Lillard back as Stu Macher and reveal that he is alive and the leader of the Ghostface cult that many fans want to see, myself included. It's been well documented by Lillard himself in past interviews. The original plan for Scream 3 was to reveal that Stu was alive and that he survived the night of the OG murders and was running a Ghostface cult that would be a group of teens from the Woodsboro Cinema Club in Scream 3. Unfortunately, due to the tragedy at Columbine High School, this idea was scrapped. Williamson could no doubt decide to give most fans what they want, and that is a Stu Macher return, for the simple fact that this is a story he didn't get to tell, so he may see it as unfinished business. Scream 5 and Scream 6 writer Guy Busick is back writing the script for Scream 7, this time without previous co-writer James Vanderbilt, and it's well documented that Guy is a massive Stu truther and wants to bring Stu back, which would explain the subtle Easter eggs of Stu Macher that we got in the previous 2 films. Matthew Lillard has stated numerous times at conventions, even to myself when I met him in person, that he would love to come back and reprise his role as Stu Macher as long as it made sense. The opportunity to make this happen, with both Kevin and Guy in charge of directing and writing, makes Stu Macher's return story the most likely story Scream 7 could explore. Now, the reason why I think Kevin could merge his original ideas for Scream 3 and 5 is the fact that when I read his original plans for 5 and rewatch 4, there's no doubt in my mind that there was a third killer in that movie that would have been revealed in the next movie. How else would you explain this killer knowing Jill was a killer who got away? It would only make sense that this new killer would have been involved with the murders in Scream 4. Why Stu's return story could merge well with Jill's story is because you could create a storyline where Stu was the real mastermind behind the murders of 2011 with Jill and Charlie, but Jill, as we saw, went against protocol and went into business for herself. This will obviously enrage Stu, being the Woodsboro remake murders were supposed to be where he steps out of Billy's shadow, but more importantly, revealed he survived the night of 1996, being the first Ghostface to ever make it to a sequel, as was originally planned, and getting the credit he deserves. By Jill depriving him of this moment and overshadowing him much like Billy did, this could explain why he is out to expose her and subsequently kill her. For those who will say, well, then Jill would know who is going after her, so that takes away the whodunit aspect. That's the beauty about this situation. Jill is a killer herself, so she can't say who this new killer is, even if she does know who it is, because then she'd be outing herself, which we saw in Scream 4. That is not something that she's willing to do, to say the least. This not only keeps the whodunit aspect in place, but like Williamson said, it pits killer versus killer, which would be a dynamic that could breathe fresh air into the franchise, not having been done before. But it would also bring with it other firsts as well, such as bringing 2 killers from previous films as opposed to 1, something that I've spoken about before in reference to the Charlie Walker character. What makes this idea even more enticing is that Stu and Jill were the only 2 killers in the Scream franchise ever to have the idea pitched of their characters returning in a sequel. By going in this direction for the two characters, it could also answer the long-burning question as to who was it that opened Kirby Reed's basement door and walked in Scream 4 when Sidney went to go check on her. Kirby got stabbed by Charlie moments prior and was bleeding out on the ground, and Charlie and Jill were both upstairs when this moment occurs. By having this be Stu, it could hint at the possibility of Stu revealing himself in Scream 4, but choosing not to after witnessing Jill turn on Charlie, which could have led into him being the killer, attempting to expose her in Scream 5's original concept, being she went off script from what the actual plan was. To cap it off, when you look at Scream 4, there were elements of the original Scream 3 plan for Stu introduced in the film with the Woodsboro Cinema Club, who happened to be ran by Charlie Walker, Jill's partner, so tying all this in really isn't as difficult as you may think. By merging these two stories together, it would see Kevin knock out two incompleted ideas he had for two films in one film, and if there's anyone that can do it, it's him in my opinion. One thing is for certain with Kevin Williamson directing the 7th installment of Scream, his movie has the opportunity to come as close to the original in terms of feel, look, and sound, honoring the legacy of what he and Wes Craven built together with this franchise all the way back in 1996, and I can't wait to see what Kevin and Guy have in store for us and the Sidney Prescott character in Scream 7. But okay everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know what story you think Kevin and Guy should tell for Sidney in Scream 7. Would you like to see Kevin have both of his scrap storylines for Stu and Jill be merged into one film and told in Scream 7? Or do you want to see Scream 7 be the version of Scream 3 that was planned in 2000 and Stu be the only killer that comes back for a sequel? Once again, this is Asham 6times YouTube horror movie channel. I am your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching.